Hello, Jamie from Inky&Scrappy, sharing with you today my creation for the Fab 5 Hop and Giveaway featuring Lawn Fawn, pining for Lawn Fawn old and new. So to start, I usually grab a few sets and try to figure out what I'm going to do with them. I had decided I was going to do a ta-da diorama, and of course I'm using the Porcupine for You stamp set, which is new, but I thought it would be kind of cheeky to bring in that little pineapple from the Beachy Christmas set. It's the only pineapple that I know that I have from Lawn Fawn. And so when I was stamping that out, my card kind of went awry from there. Because I was like, oh, the beach sounds nice. And that palm tree looks like it would work really good on the front of the ta-da diorama. And those little sunglasses screamed my name and said, don't forget about me. I'd be cute in some VersaFine Onyx Black ink and some silver embossing powder and then heat set. Yeah, they just kind of happened. I wasn't planning on a porcupine surfing in the waves on the beach, but it just kind of happened. Sometimes you just have to go where your imagination takes you. I enjoy the beach. My husband enjoys the beach, so it's been cold. I think that's probably where this one kind of went awry. Yeah. So I had planned on doing a nice little grassy border scene, or a grassy, meadow scene with it. And I already had my green ones cut and ready to go. So I had to switch focus and figure out my background and some wavy beach scenery. I did decide to go with that pink that I'd used for my pull tab pieces there, or my opening ta-da pieces, I guess. I don't know, are they pull tabs? Anyways, I brought in some saltwater taffy, and then I did bring in some darker abandoned coral later on, because right here I was pretty sure I messed up my background totally and completely. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I should have started with the negative piece there, and I was starting with the positive. So I have Lawn Fawn's stitched wavy border dies, and I cut them with craft plastic and I use them as stencils. I probably should have made the negative part of those stencils bigger than the positive part of those stencils, because that's really what I needed. So to fix my little oopsie, I just brought in that darker abandoned coral and kind of added that towards the bottom. It covered up my little oopsie, and I just continued on from there. I wasn't so far into my card that I would have had to start, that starting over would have been a bad thing. I just, don't like to if I don't have to. So a lot of times fixing my mistakes as per, I have to. I'm using a Salvaged Patina for my lighter color and Peacock Feathers for my darker color there. And then I'm going to also ink blend on some, I think I did some heavyweight cardstock, some Ranger Distress heavyweight cardstock in white. And then I did bring in the ivory tone color, and it was taking too long, so I just did direct from ink pad to paper. I need to re-ink them all, I do believe. It's been a good year, so they're probably ready for a fresh re-inking again. So I am going to bring in some vintage photo to do some splatters on my sand, because that's what this is going to be. I need to do a little bit of sand on the front of my card, and then of course that first one on the inside scene is also going to have a sandy look to it. So I'm just going to speckle that with some of that vintage photo. I'm also going to bring in some Brutus Monroe Aqua Pigments. I want to say it's in Blue Frost or Purple Frost. I'm not sure. It's dried in my dish. I just re-wet it and use it to my heart's content. It works really well. I picked up the little dish there from the Dollar Tree. It was like a stack of 6 in the party favor section. Once those dried, I came back, cut them out. I cut that sandy panel from another ta-da diorama front, and then came in with a stitch slimline border die and cut that out for my sand in the front. I also created a color palette for this one. It is up on my blog, InkyandScrappy.com. It will be both on the linked post for this one and then as well as my Oohoo color blend page. Anything that is a new palette as of January 15th, 2024 will have my newer numbering system on it. So if it does not have a matching color, you will know that it is like, if you look at the R's, there's a little R and then a big R. So the big R is always going to be a Honolulu style marker, and the little R is going to be an Oahu style marker. Some of those on that color palette might have mates. I just didn't write them on there yet. I will include them on my picture on my blog if they are available. So as for hop details, this hop is open to anyone internationally. It is sponsored by Lawn Fawn. So it is a $25 gift card to Lawn Fawn for the winner to select whatever their little heart contents. Anyways, it is open until February 3rd at 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, and a winner will be picked on February 5th and posted on our Instagram, our Fab5 Instagram and Facebook pages. If you want to follow those, I will have the links down below so you can make sure to check it out. And please make sure to claim your prize. You have 1 week once we announce a winner, and then after that we will pick another winner, and that person has 1 week, and if it goes unclaimed after that week, the prize will be forfeited. So back to coloring, I'm just coming in with my darker tone, adding a little bit more darkness to my first one and then adding some more to the other one. I kept my coloring fairly simple this time. So they don't have a wavy add-on for the Ta-Da diorama. And so to do it, I just take the original piece, the original, insert piece. And as long as your, waves don't go over that piece, you should be fine. It won't impede or hinder the movement there. And so that's what I did. I just went in and kind of traced it, hand cut out, and then of course I'm going to glue this on top. Now keeping this piece as long as that whole panel piece, I think helps so it doesn't catch, if that makes sense. Of course, my gluing was subpar on this one, and I could not wiggle it. Like, once it was down, it was like stuck, and I couldn't lift it back up without ripping it. So I did end up just folding those over, and then I ended up just cutting off what was overhanging on the bottom there. It probably would have been fine. I just didn't want that white hanging out on the bottom when I finished my card. So I did fold all of my pieces. If you want better instructions for the Ta-Da diorama, I have many other videos for you available, and Lawn Fawn has them as well. I kind of had to cut out some stuff here just to keep it within reason for the hop. Now I didn't line this one up the greatest. I just ended up cutting off whatever was overhanging that panel piece. That way it's all within the confines of that front panel. The front panel will hide a little bit of air on the placement there. It's not a huge deal. And then I will tuck in my little inserts here and then make sure to unfold once I get them all, or each side through. And then I will start working on building that front scene. So I'm adding on my little sandy hill here and thinking about how I want to do the rest of it. So I'm going to come in with my little bracket pieces here. Now don't worry about the brackets overhanging those front pull tab areas, because your pull tabs are going to go there, so you can't see that white anyways. It's something I realized fairly early on when I was like trying to be really careful with it. As long as they're on the side there, you're good to roll. So it just kind of helps you line up probably placement where it's supposed to be a little bit better. So I am bringing in my images. I did cut the vast majority out with my Brother Scan and Cut. I do have the coordinating dies for the Porcupine for You add-on set because, his little hands get cut out. And then he can hold on to a cute little porcupine, he can hold on to a cute little pineapple. That pineapple is sized perfectly for the porcupine. That's all I'm saying. He was just meant to be. And this one, well, he's got his feet just right to go surfing. I do come in and kind of cut around the outline just a little bit to kind of make it look like maybe I did some masking and not, you know, just lazy masking. I don't know. I like it to not have that extra white border on my image when I combine them. Does that make sense? So I do fussy cut once in a while. Sometimes I will cut them on the line with my brother Scan and Cut, but a lot of times I like to have that white outline, and so I just fussy cut a couple of pieces here and there. So I'm going to add my little palm tree on there, and making sure not to put any glue where it's going to overhang that opening area. You can get by with it. You just have to make sure that it's dry before you close it. So definitely if you're using a double-sided adhesive, it's not going to work very well if you go over that area because it will stick and then it won't open. So I'm going to add in my little seashells there. And then kind of keep building the scene. Now, your hills on the inside or your waves on the inside, that front piece you have about an inch of real estate above that hill. If you want to add something above, I just kind of kept everything on it so I didn't have to worry about it closing properly, if that makes sense. I don't know. And then the porcupine in the back, on the back wave, he's going to be just fine because he's got about 2.5 inches of wiggle room in that back panel, I think, on that back tab to work with, and he's plenty small for it, so it was all good. Then I'm just going to add in some more images because I have extras yet, and then I needed to figure out what I wanted for a sentiment. I had enough of that ink blended panel left that I could take the sentiment banner from that heart add-on and die cut that out. So I did do that, and finding placement because I didn't want it to cover up any of my images on the inside. And then, of course, figuring out my sentiment. Please tell me I'm not the only one that struggles with sentiments for all the things. So I did end up stamping this on my waving banner. Now, I should have stamped it on the other side. I didn't want to do the full sentiment, which was I Porcu-Pine for you, because I was kind of going on that whole also pineapple, right? So I just thought that I pine for you was going to work a little bit better. Now, yeah, well, you know, and I did think about adding the pineapple in there, which would have been cute too. I did not cut it right? I should have stamped it on the opposite end, and I didn't have another sheet of it left, and I really wanted to get it done. It's, you know, one of those things. So I'm going to bring in the die again, and I'm going to do, we're going to try it, right? See if it works. So I brought in my little mini die cutter. I just ran it through really slow, so it just cut the little flag end onto it because I wanted it to have that stitched border on it. And it ended up working out okay. If it wouldn't have, I'd just ended up starting over. But, you know, sometimes we can save the things. And it ended up working out okay. So then I'm just going to add that onto that little corner where I wanted it. And then I need to add, I've done stabilizers with mine for quite a while. It actually makes the Dada a lot more user-friendly for the gift, the gifter, I guess, whoever gets it, right? Because otherwise that front panel kind of slides around and it can fall off. And so by die cutting a second piece of that pull tab window, I have a bunch already saved, but I was going to color code it for this one, so I did have a little scrap of this paper, so I cut a little bit. So this one was just cut that it ended up having about a 1/2 inch on each end instead of having that full pull tab piece. So instead of that part where you put the little boot is the part where you kind of want in your middle. So a 1/2 inch on each side of that boot, the boot part where the boot would go. And then I just hand fold it in half there. It makes adding that piece fairly quick and easy. And then I just cut them in about not a 1/2 inch, like 3/8 of an inch. I don't really measure the greatest on it. I just kind of eyeball it and call it good. It's not, you know, it's not too fussy, I guess. And then, of course, to finish it up, I'm going to come in and add some glitter and some crystal glaze, glossy effects. Is that it? That's it. And then, of course, I decided to add some glossy effects and some glitter onto the inside of my ta-da, which also means that I cannot close it for a while. Yeah, I get ahead of myself. It is what it is. So I'm going to set that where I'm not going to hopefully make a mess. And I'm going to cut my card base down here to 3.5 inches by 4 3/4 inches. I'm using a pre-done card base from Hobby Lobby. It goes with my color scheme on the card, so it was perfect. So I'm going to bring in the You Be Mine. I think it was Quill You Be Mine. So I cut off the quill, and then because he's surfing, I went with Henry's ABCs and spelled out the word swell. So swell, you be mine. I know, all the puns today, I'm sorry. I'm bringing in some score tape onto the front of my card base there, and then I'm going to add a little bit of glue to my actual ta-da diorama here, and I'm going to try to center that as best as I can without touching all of the wet stuff. Yeah, it worked out okay. So, and then I'm going to add in that last little pineapple into the inside to finish it up. So here is my completed ta-da diorama with that surfing porcupine and sunglass wearing pineapple holding porcupine on the front. I really love how this one turned out. I hope you have an amazing day. Make sure to comment below. You can just say, hey. You're way too funny for me, Jamie. Anyways, I hope you have an amazing day. Go check out the next video.